Welcome to It's a Piece of Cake. I'm Lima, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make this really gorgeous Bollywood inspired princess cake. So first we are going to obviously bake our cake, and whenever I bake my actual doll shaped cakes I always use my cake mixer bowl because I think it just gives you the perfect shape. So spray it with some non-stick cooking spray, put your batter in there, and obviously it depends how big you want the dress, but I go about just a little under halfway. And then you're going to level out all your cakes. You just cut them out. You can use a knife or you can use a cake slicer, and then fill them with whatever filling you want. So very, very easy. Just you can cut them in as many pieces as you want, or you could just do a few, and then just in between each one you're going to fill it with either buttercream or ganache, whatever you want to fill them with, and just stack them up in order, obviously from the largest to the smallest. And you keep doing that all the way till you go to the top, and any excess chocolate ganache that you'll have on the sides or buttercream, you're just going to use your knife or spatula, whatever you're using, just to smooth that out. And then when you have smoothed it out, you can pop it in the fridge for about an hour just to let that cake firm and the ganache firm so then it doesn't move around much. So all I'm doing, and I'm just going to do the one coat of the ganache all around it, but if you wanted to, you can do the second coat. This is what we call more of a crumb coat, so it just kind of seals all the crumbs and just kind of gives you more of a smooth base. But like I said, you can pop this in the fridge for about, say, 20 minutes and then do another second coat if you wanted to. But normally when I'm covering them in ganache, I just do the one coat. So now that I'm pretty happy with that shape, just smoothing it out, then I'm going to pop this in the fridge and then work on my fondant. So with the fondant, I'm rolling out a black piece of fondant, and I like to roll out black fondant with non-stick cooking spray rather than corn flour icing sugar, because that kind of sticks all into the fondant, and the non-stick cooking spray just makes it easy to roll out. And then I'm going to use this silicone mat, which I've purchased on eBay, but it should be available on Amazon and Wish and anywhere else online that you buy the mats for. It's roughly about $2, and it's called a silicone impression lace mat. So this mat gives you a beautiful, beautiful lace pattern, and all you do is you just press it, kind of massage it into your fondant. Spray your fondant with a little bit of non-stick cooking spray so the silicone mat releases very easily off it. So like I said, all you're doing is just going around the whole entire fondant, just pressing it in just to kind of push in that pattern so it engraves the fondant, and it does give you this really, really beautiful lace mold. I have used this lace silicone mat in a few other videos that I will put in the description box below if you want to watch them. I've used this lace mold a lot and I absolutely love this silicone mat. Then you're just going to roll it over your rolling pin and then drape it over your cake. And just kind of let it naturally fall. Don't worry about it too much at this stage. Just cut away any excess and just kind of leave a little bit on the sides because we want to overflap them. So just cut away and just leave that excess on the sides. Once you've cut away what you want to take off, then just kind of use your fingers, just move it around and press it in, and all you're doing is playing around with the fondant with the sides, kind of just massage it so it opens up a bit. If you've got any broken bits, when you massage it, it softens it out and kind of looks neater. And then with the actual creases, if you want to have like little creases on it, just make the creases yourself so it looks like a dress that's kind of flowing. It's not really hard to do, it's harder to explain, but as you can see, all I'm doing is just kind of bending in the fondant just to give some creases to it. And then apply some eatable gel or piping gel underneath the fondant just to stick it into place. So when you're happy with all the creases that you've got, you can then apply the piping gel inside the cake just to make sure that sticks in place. And then you can use for the bottom parts, just use some paper towels. So I'm just using some normal paper towels and just wrapping it all around the corners of the cake. I don't want none of the fondant touching the table. So those paper towels you're going to leave overnight, and then when they dry up, the fondant will dry up, and then just take away the paper towels, and then you've just got that beautiful kind of flowing dress. So as you can see, the fondant has set like that, and when it sets like that, then you've got that beautiful shape. I've left mine overnight, but you can use tireless powder and you can have that set in a couple of hours. So with the silicone mold to make the actual details, so I'm using black fondant directly onto the silicone mold, and it's not going to come off, it's just going to stick into that because the black fondant's got a lot of gel paste in them, so they're quite tacky to use. But if you do spray your silicone mold with non-stick cooking spray, that just becomes a perfect releasing agent for the little pieces of fondant that we're going to be using on our doll. So this is a dual fondant silicone mold that I've purchased online, and this is the one that I always use on my dolls because I just love the different shapes it gives, and it gives you so many options and different types that you can do with just this one mold. So I've got lots of videos using these. If you want to watch a few other ones, I'll put the link below. So all I'm doing is just making 2 pieces of each one that I'm going to be using on my doll, and then I'm going to get my doll, put some piping gel on my doll, and then use these pieces to stick on into place. So the piping gel is basically our glue, and then just play around with the design, whatever design you want to do. But that's why I like using these silicone molds, because it gives you 2 perfect shapes and sizes for each time you're using it. And I'm just going to put some on her shoulders. So like I said, with the actual design, the top half, you can do whatever you really like. So I've just kind of went for something like this here. And then I've got another mold. This is an actual frame mold. So but I like using this for my dolls as well. And with the frame mold, I'm going to use 2 pieces of them. One I'm going to be using now just to kind of finish off her dress, and the other piece we're going to be using later. But because I've got the mold out now, I'm just going to make both my pieces now, and then one of them, so this one we're going to use on the actual doll, and then the other piece that I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be using that one later. So putting it into, if you don't know how to use silicone molds, I will put in the description box below. I do have a full tutorial on how to use silicone molds, and you can watch that, and that will just show you a full video on how to use them. So with that thin piece, I've cut it in half, and I'm just draping it around the sides just to kind of finish off her dress, adding some on the front and some on the back, and that is pretty much my top half of her dress. And then that other little piece that we've got, I'm going to use that later. So now back to my cake, I'm going to cut a little slit in the center where I think the center is. Remove away the fondant and the ganache that you've got there. And then you're going to kind of press in the doll, and just to make sure that you are happy where you're going to be positioning her. So I'm pressing it in, and if I'm happy at that spot there, that's where I want it, then I'm going to put some compound chocolate in there, and the compound chocolate is going to be my glue. You can also use royal icing if you want, but I prefer the compound chocolate. I'm going to hold it into place, then after a few seconds, 10-15 seconds, that becomes our really solid chocolate glue, and that doll will stay there. A little bit more piping gel just to kind of wrap up that little extra piece of fondant that we had, just to kind of tie it all together. And that can just stick there, and that just kind of, for me, just finishes it off. Or you can just do a little round piece of fondant if you wanted to. And that is our really pretty flowing kind of dress. So I like the idea with that paper towels for the fondant to rest on, because as you can see, when it's finished, it's just got that really nice natural flow. Now as I turn my cake around, you can see the cake on the bottom. So if you wanted to, you can pre-cover your cake with fondant. So you could do a really thin layer of fondant before you drape this on. It's up to you. Or I could right now add some ruffles there. So I could add a different color ruffles there, or add some black ruffles there, and it'll give it more texture and it'll look really nice. But I'm not going to get that technical, because I'm kind of leaving it more of a simple, basic kind of tutorial that you could do at home. But like I said, you could either pre-cover that or add some more ruffles now. But I'm just leaving it as is, and see with the paper towels we've had them under the fondant, we've put a little bit everywhere, some bits higher so it's flowing more, and some bits lower. There is no wrong or right in your dress, so don't feel the pressure to have it in a particular way. Just put it however high you want it and how low you want it. And that is pretty much how to do this beautiful doll. Now you can leave it as is if you wanted to, or you can start colouring it. So to colour it, I'm using some dust. Now I use the Rocklum powder dust, that's my favourite, but you can use any dust that you like. And with the dust, all you do is you spray your fondant. So I've sprayed the dress with some non-stick cooking spray, and then I've got these really nice soft makeup brushes that I buy online. And the makeup brushes are really soft, so it works well with these powders, because these powders are so fine. And then there's really nothing else to it. You're just brushing it on as you would apply foundation, powder, makeup to yourself. So you can mix colours that's what I'm doing. So I went for red, copper, bronze, gold, picked out the colours that I want, and then just brushing them on. And if you're not happy with the colour, these powders, you can overlap them. So spray a little bit of nonstick cooking spray and then add your other colour, and it works perfectly fine to cover the colour. So you can practice with a few colours before you decide, but I'm just doing patches of all different of the shades that I've picked. So again, spray it with nonstick cooking spray. That nonstick cooking spray basically becomes our glue, and then after about 5-10 hours, though, that the powder is so firm and stuck onto that fondant, you won't be able to remove it. It does not fly away. It doesn't blow away with the wind or anything. The powders, I'll put a link below with some other tutorials that I've used the powders if you wanted to watch those as well. But as you can see, they're very easy to use, really beautiful colours, and there is so many colours you can choose from: silver, grey, pink, blue, so many. And like I said, I've just picked out my favourite ones. So that's what the bottom half of the dress looks like. So really beautiful, vibrant colours. And then we're going to do the top half, which is pretty much doing the exact same thing. I did decide to add a bit of gold. I found that it needed a bit of colour to lift it up. So I was tossing up between pearl white or gold, but then I decided to go for gold. And that I just highlighted a little bit here and there just to kind of lift it up, just to give it not so much of a dark colour, just something a bit lighter to just brighten up the dress. And I loved it. And this is like an antique gold, so it's not so bright. So I've went through with a thinner brush, and obviously the type of brushes that you use make a big difference. So if you're going to use a brush with like a really small thin brush, it's going to give you smaller pieces. If you're going to use a big fluffy brush, it's going to give you a big amount of colour. So with the top half, I'm doing exactly as what we did before. I've sprayed it with nonstick cooking spray and then just playing around with the colours. I've went more gold on the top half, but like I said, just play around with it. And, you know, it's your dress. There is no wrong or right. You play around with it as much as colours as you want, how you want to do it. And then I've just finished off the top half doing the same thing, and that's pretty much how you get this really, I personally think it's how it looks, I think it's such an easy cake, because you're using that lace mold that gives you all that intricate work, but then you're just brushing on powders, which is really, really simple. So I think if you are even a cake beginner, it is a type of cake that you can achieve at home. And then the flowing of the dress, I do just also want to add, if you are in a rush to make this cake, then you can add tireless powder to your fondant. And what tireless powder does is sets the fondant a lot more quicker. So you could have the cake within a couple of hours if you use tireless powder. I didn't use the tireless powder. The only disadvantage of using tireless powder is you have to work faster. So when you're stamping the impression mat, you have to work quicker. You have to do everything faster because the tireless powder sets the fondant really firm really quickly. So you could do that if you wanted the cake in a rush. If not, do what I did, just stamp it on and leave it about a good 10 hours for the fondant to firm up, and then you can start brushing on the colours. And these eatable colours have no taste to them, so they're not going to affect the taste of your fondant. Absolutely no taste to them. You can use them in chocolates as well. And like I said, I'll put in a link another video if you want to watch. So I hope you guys did enjoy this really simple tutorial. And if you did, let me know by giving me a thumbs up. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Take care and bye for now.